This is the Devil's Reign story. Basically, Kingpin has taken over New York as the mayor and outlawed being a superhero. It takes place right after the Daredevil kills a man storyline, so I hope you guys enjoy. If there's one thing that Daredevil knows, it's hatred. Hatred for a very peculiar man. His piousness. His outdated sense of morality. The thing that he always falls back to is this man's hypocrisy. The former Kingpin, Wilson Fisk. He looks down on their baser natures as he grins in a fistfight. But tonight, Fisk has come to Hell's Kitchen for a reason, one that he himself cannot understand. Daredevil asks why call him out like this, and Fisk throws an envelope at Daredevil's feet telling him, "I will tell you what it is. It is nothing, but it should be something. It's a folder from my private safe, which I dimly remember putting together, remembering that this folder was labeled Daredevil's Identity. And those pages inside are either blank or meaningless, like a sick joke, like someone who switched them out from my most secure and secret place. Except they didn't, did they?" Fisk walks closer as his voice begins to raise. "I can feel it! You did something! You're behind this! Who are you?" Daredevil laughs as he fires his grappling hook, telling him, "Sorry, Wilson. It's called a secret identity." The next day, Fisk calls a press conference, one where he tells the people of New York that they have suffered through wave after wave of attacks, all because of superheroes. The reign of dark aliens, all because Spider-Man infected their planet with one of them. The hordes of trolls and ice-strewn beasts that destroyed their homes, all because they let Thor into their world. They allow these unnatural monsters in capes and bright colors to reign free in a city of good people. People trying to live their lives. And when they dare hold them accountable for their crimes, like the murderer Daredevil, they get preferential treatment, a slap on the wrist. That is why he has been working for the last few weeks on a draft that he is calling the Powers Act. Recently, their friends at the federal level wisely outlawed unsanctioned superhero activity for those under 21 years of age. Any individual who exhibits a use of powers deemed superhuman or commits acts of destructive vigilantism will be charged as a threat. Those people are not better than us, not better than the hardworking people of this city. They wish to help society? Then they can be a part of it, not above it. This is not something new to happen to New York or even the world. There have been teams or groups formed, and this is no different. The Thunderbolts, a hand-picked team of what people would call the anti-heroes, have been tasked to bring the vigilantes in, starting with Moon Knight. But not everyone is on board with the Powers Act. The Brooklyn Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though he is under the age of 21, still helps where he can, and people are thankful for that. After saving a girl from a burning building, the firefighters tell him that he should get going before the firefighter could finish, Miles is tased, and Captain America steps out of the burning building with another survivor, telling the Thunderbolts, "I'm going to need you to step away from the young man." The commander tells him, "Well, you're under arrest too. In accordance with the Powers Act, you are a criminal, Captain America. You're all criminals." As Miles is taken away, Captain America throws his shield, knocking some of the men out, asking, "Are you up for this?" Miles tells him that he would be if the cuffs weren't blocking his powers. But then a voice tells him that it's a good thing that he's here to even the odds then, and Daredevil and Spider-Man jump out to lend a hand. Once gaining a bit of ground, the heroes slip into the sewers, and Spider-Man asks, "What is going on out there? I knew Fisk being mayor of New York was going to be bad, but this?" Daredevil then reveals that this is his fault, all because of his identity. But it wasn't always that way. You see, the world knew who he was, and even though he didn't ask them to, Kilgrave's children made the world forget. Spider-Man stops. "Zebediah? As in the Purple Man? Are you saying that his kids can control minds as well?" They can. And Fisk knows that something is wrong with his mind, and that's why this falls on me. I could just tell the people who I am and it'll all stop. Cap tells him, "It won't. We knew with Fisk in power something like this could happen. It's not anyone's fault, and sacrificing yourself to Fisk's altar won't change a thing. Don't give in to him. Not now, not ever. Because if you do, Fisk will take it all, Daredevil." So the next day, the officials appear at the Baxter building as Sue Richards asks, "Who the hell are you?" The woman leading the group states that they are with Homeland Security, aided by the NYPD. They have reason to believe that there are weapons of mass destruction being kept at the Fantastic Four building. Reed tells them, "I'm sorry, but I have an agreement with the government to work unobstructed in exchange for their service." But before he could finish, both he and Sue have collars strapped to their necks. Doc Ock tells them, "These power dampeners are a necessity for those such as yourselves. Now you'll be coming along." Sue knocks one of the agents away, stating, "Like hell we are!" And she manages to hit a switch on a computer, yelling out, "Code X7!" And upstairs, the Thing says to himself, "Oh, nuts, this is bad." Just then, Thunderbolts kick in the door, telling everyone to turn around. And before they even give him a chance to actually comply, they open fire. Thing shields Val and Franklin, the children of Sue and Reed, and then glares back because they shot at kids. He begins to beat the men down, asking, "Did you really just shoot at kids? You're lucky that I got responsibilities and don't stick around to clobber you some more." But as Ben and Johnny escape with the children in another part of New York, Luke Cage and Jessica Jones try to get by while not drawing much attention to themselves, with Fisk's act making waves. However, as an explosion goes off in the streets, the two quickly jump in to help save people from an overturned bus. And just as they do, Shocker is there to take them in. He tosses a pair of power dampeners on them, telling them that the Thunderbolts are in control. "Go ahead and put these on." Luke crushes them. "Yeah, that ain't happening." Shocker sends out a shockwave, telling him, "Okay, the hard way it is." And while Shocker is destroying everything in his path, Luke walks through the blast, grabbing Shocker by his power gauntlets, squeezing them so tight, asking, "You think because you have a badge now it means something? It just means that you graduated from trash to official trash." With the crowds now surrounding them with their phones, Luke tells everyone, "Wilson Fisk is a gangster and a fool. A big man who's small, who needs to show his power. This isn't about superheroes, it's about a man with his grip around all of you. He makes it sound like he's loosening it, and that you're all just gonna get in trouble. But the kind of trouble that's going to show him that it's us who actually gave him the power. I might not be Captain America or Mr. Fantastic. I'm just a New Yorker like all of you. And if someone's in trouble, then we do what New Yorkers do. We help." Later that night, Luke and Jessica begin to pack, trying to find somewhere to lay low for a while when they see Tony Stark standing outside of their apartment. Jessica says that if this is his idea of not drawing attention, then maybe he shouldn't have driven up in an expensive car. Tony tells them that they've got to take down Fisk, but to do it, they're going to need to do it legitimately, the old-fashioned way, with a ton of money and a candidate. Tony Stark is going to run for mayor. As Tony begins to go over his plan, though, elsewhere, Kilgrave is sitting in a tube demanding to be let out. Fisk walks up holding a folder, asking if he knows what this is. "It's power. It's a common misconception, but my ascension was never about my fists or strength of body. It was about knowing things, having people bring me their secrets. Over the past decade, I've amassed files on anyone who mattered, friends and rivals. From those on the top to the young scrappers who dared to flex. Secret identities, forbidden triumphs, cover-ups, and loved ones. And now I'm using them all, practically giving them all away because I am in my endgame. But that's the funny thing about me, this file. There's nothing on you. Your children want you dead and you have no loved ones. You have nothing." Kilgrave laughs. "I don't need anyone. Everyone does what I want. Now open this thing and I'll show you." Just then the tube opens and Kilgrave tells him, "I'm going to need a favor, Fisk. Kill yourself." But before Kilgrave could finish, Fisk grabs him by the throat. Now, Zebediah. You should know that mind control doesn't work on me. My will is too strong." Fisk takes out his knife and begins to stab Kilgrave. "You've squandered your gift. Perhaps it's time for someone more worthy to possess it." And behind the scenes of it all, there is even more at play. Someone pushing Fisk to become president. With the outlaw of costumed heroes across New York, many of the Avengers have found themselves with their backs against the wall. As Mayor Fisk is deploying his Thunderbolts to arrest anyone who wears a mask, Luke Cage, Jessica Jones, and Tony Stark have come up with a plan to take Fisk out by winning the upcoming election. But the heroes find strength in numbers. And Luke calls Iron Fist Danny Rand to not only bring him onto their side, but to make sure that he's doing okay. Danny tells them that he isn't too worried about it. He isn't Iron Fist anymore. If anything, it's them who should be worried about things. But before they could even get off the phone, Crossbones breaks into Danny's office, forcing him to fight back. As the phone disconnects, Jessica asks if they can get to him but But Tony says that Danny is 30 blocks away and all of his suits are on lockdown as the government officials tried getting in. If they're going to help Danny in the city, they need Steve and the rest. Meanwhile, at the mayor's office, Fisk looks up from his desk to see Elektra in the shadows. She tells him that he knows none of this will stand, that the people that he is up against have the power of gods. Fisk laughs, telling her that if those people do attack, then the true power, the people, they will remember. I'm just tired of all of you and your ridiculous costumes, thinking because you have freakish lives resulting in freakish powers that you could do whatever you wish. Elektra grips her sigh, and Fisk notices. So that is why you've come, because you're a killer. But there's a problem, you can't. You're playing a long game with the real Daredevil, which means no killing. See, I've amassed a fortune of information. Your file, I gave it away to an eager recipient. Someone who specifically asked for the challenge of the great Elektra. They had one request for me to tell you. They'd like you to meet them where you first tried to recruit the original Daredevil to the hand. Now go to them. Elektra tells herself that he knows. He knows what she did, how she betrayed Matthew. And if he finds out, she'll lose everything. Meanwhile, at this time, over at the Daily Bugle, Spider-Man sits outside trying to figure out a plan of attack. He was told to come alone, but this was Peter's place, not Ben Reilly's. Ben pulls down his mask, stating that it doesn't matter. When the people are in danger, Spider-Man runs to them. Inside the Bugle, Robbie tells his captors that they can have him. Just let everyone else go. And the captor laughs, telling him that that was a classic hero move. But we're good. We'll wait. Ben climbs in through a window and Taskmaster turns back, telling them, all right then, let's get this party started. And nothing personal, Spidey, but the man who hired me wanted a complete file. Rumor has it that whoever is under that mask works here. As Taskmaster gets ready to attack, Ben looks past him and Whiplash, staying back to keep the hostages together, which means maybe. But back at City Hall, down in the sub-basement, Doc Ock says this is the best he can do. It was only ever a rumor that Victor Von Doom controlled the world using Zebediah Kilgrave. This device that they have Kilgrave in will be able to coerce people within New York, but not control them. Fisk tells him, that is enough to win the city. I'll handle the rest. As Fisk waves his cane at Doc Ock tells him, sorry, but I made sure that I was well protected from the Purple Man influence with special neuro blockers. My part of the deal is done. Fisk watches Doc Ock leaving, telling himself, the more money a candidate spends on advertising, the more votes they are going to get. This device is no different than a flurry of ominous commercials, pushing citizens to vote out of fear. I won't lose this election. I won't lose this city. But over in the basement of the Avengers mansion, Tony walks in stating that he hasn't been down here in ages. And as everyone else walks in, Luke says that they need to talk about the plan, about him running against Fisk. Tony says that it's the cleanest way to win. What else are they going to do? Overthrow the mayor? Miles tells him it's not that. They just don't think it should be him. Jessica tells him no offense, but rich dude versus rich dude, it doesn't seem like the best path to victory. Luke says that Iron Man is a hero, but Jessica is right. Fisk will twist things and we're worried that you won't come out on top. That is why I should be the one running. Tony asks how does that even make sense, but Cap tells him that his speech the other day inspired people. To win an election, you need to inspire. Luke pats Tony on the shoulder. This isn't about ego. This is about beating Fisk. We cool? Tony tells him, yeah, not a problem. And back at the Bugle, Ben Reilly Spider-Man is struggling with Taskmaster when he tries to separate them, and Whiplash from the hostages. Ben calls out to Whiplash asking, aren't you supposed to be an A-lister now? Says, when do A-listers only watch someone kill Spider-Man? Whiplash yells, I am an A-lister! And he charges in with Taskmaster shouting, you idiot, he's goading you! But as Whiplash gets close, Ben allows himself to get ensnared by the electrical cables to knock Whiplash out, but not before receiving a shock of his own. Ben coughs as he tries to get back up, telling Taskmaster, alright, how about we take this outside? And Taskmaster reaches down for a power dampener, telling him, honestly, great idea. After putting the collar on, Taskmaster kicks Ben out the window. Feeling his powers being sapped and frantically trying to shoot webbing onto a building, he finds that without his strength, the webbing just slips through his grasp. He screams, hoping for something or someone to save him, but slams back first into a car in the streets. As he's taken in by the thunderbolts, Over at the Baxter Building, Doc Ock has been working towards his own goals with Reed Richards' interdimensional gate. As the twisted versions of Hulk, Wolverine, and Ghost Rider step out through the portal, Doc Ock says that Fisk can control the city. My plans, as ever, are superior. As Mayor Fisk's hold over New York tightens and regulations for vigilantism are outlawed, the Supermax prison of Miradon has been filled up with both villains and heroes alike, one of which is 8-Ball, who just got himself set up with a new cellmate. And as with any cellmate, you have to remind yourself who's in charge. 8-Ball sits up stating, "You might not like this, but I've tussled with the best. Spider-Man, Moon Knight, She-Hulk. I even died one time. The Hood brought me back and wanted me to be a part of the gang. But I was really more of the mastermind kind of guy. What about you? What are you in for?" The new cellmate grunts, pushing up from his push-ups, stating, "Mask beef." 8-Ball asks, "That it? That's cool. What's your name? Maybe we ran into each other." The man grunts without looking over. "Moon Knight." 8-Ball stares for a moment and then quietly sits back down on his bunk. Later at lunch, 8-Ball tries to sit with some of the other established gangs, but he was never really one to fit in. So he sits by himself to go and eat, until someone reaches out snatching an apple from his tray, telling him that he really is one sorry Khan. 8-Ball looks up at the man with a carved moon on his forehead. "Hey, Captain Confusion, what's up?" Confusion laughs. "How could a sorry guy like you survive on the streets? But wait, you didn't, you got killed." Suddenly, Confusion's wrist is grabbed by Moon Knight and Confusion asks, "Who the hell are you to be sticking up for 8-Ball?" Moon Knight stares into Confusion's eyes and tells him, "I'm the guy who carved that moon into your head." As Confusion runs away, Moon Knight sits down to eat with his newly acquired apple. And 8-Ball asks, "Why aren't you sitting with the other hero types?" Moon Knight takes a bite and tells him, "They all got pinched with Fisk's Thunderbolt sweets. I'm not really more welcomed with them than, say, any D-list Khan is with other gangs around here. But what I want to know is, where is Man Mountain Marco?" 8-Ball tells him that Marco doesn't eat with the rest of them. He gets real food. There's a little-known secret that Marco is known as the King of the Cage. Guards got a little Thunderdome action going on with the inmates. They place bets the whole nine. Since Marco is the reigning champ, he doesn't sit with the likes of them. You don't say. Across the cafeteria, Confusion sits back with his gang, who all also have moons carved into their foreheads. But as he's attempting to warn everyone, his face is slammed into his tray. "Hey, been a while. What are a bunch of first-class losers up to these days? Maybe you should all remind me of your stupid names. Or, if you feel like trying to get some payback, you know where to find me." Later, as Moon Knight and 8-Ball are heading back to their cell, a guard stops them, sniffing Moon Knight, telling him that he stinks, and that he needs a shower. He gets dragged down the hall with the guard pushing Moon Knight into the bathroom and shutting the door. Moon Knight looks at Captain Confusion and his gang. "You don't waste time. I appreciate it." A few minutes later, the guard whistles as he counts the money that he was paid, and Moon Knight walks out, bloody, telling him, "The shower's broken. How about some real action?" After that, Moon Knight is brought into the guard fights, where he brutally beats his first opponent, Boomslang. Every fight after that was the same. Maybe he'd get hit a few times, but Moon Knight would always savagely win his bouts, even sometimes taking on 2 inmates at the same time. But finally, after a few nights in climbing the ranks, as a knock at the glass, as Man Mountain Marco stands there. He tells Moon Knight that he's heard someone really strong has been in the cage. "You wanting a shot at the title? I've got a 12-year-old daughter who looks bigger than you. Who are you supposed to be anyway?" Moon Knight blows on the glass to fog it up and starts to draw out a crescent moon. Later, Moon Knight is taken to the title match where Marco is waiting for him. "You ready to die tonight? You're not nearly as tough as you need to be to kill me. The first man to kill me was Raw Bushman. He was a ruthless war criminal, real deal. You're no Bushman." Marco shouts as he throws his punches, but with every swing, Moon Knight dodges and counters with a punch or kick of his own until Marco catches his leg. Marco turns, throwing Moon Knight into the cage, but Moon Knight grabs the bars, launching himself back with a kick to the chest. But even being put down to his knee, Marco gets back up screaming as he charges at Moon Knight, punching him hard enough to knock him down. Moon Knight thinks back to why he's here in this exact moment. Before the Midnight Mission, he was approached by a woman, Judith Court. But before she went back to her maiden name, her last name was Marco. Moon Knight asks, "So your ex-husband is Michael Man Mountain Marco?" And Judith tells him yes, and sighs, telling him that Michael left her when she was pregnant with their daughter. He never came to see her, and the daughter is 12 now and starting to show powers, super strength, and Michael wants to take her away because she's valuable to him now. He said that when he got out, he would find her, kill her, and take that daughter. Moon Knight stops her as she tries to explain her daughter's hobbies, telling her that she has nothing to be afraid of. "You and your daughter are under my protection now. I'll handle your ex-husband." Back in our current time, in the fight, Marco flexes, asking, "Did you see that? I'm still the champ!" But Moon Knight gets up, throwing himself onto Marco's back, wrapping an arm around his neck. "No punk cop or third-tier supervillain could have put me in here if I didn't want to be in here. No prison can hold me if I wanted to leave. I came to deliver a message, and that message is that you will never see your ex-wife or daughter again. Or I will do things that will make what I did to Bushman look like mercy. Understand?" Marco falls over laughing. "Haha, I get it. As soon as I get out of here, I'm just going to kill her. Just like I'm going to get my little girl." Moon Knight looks down. "I gave you a chance. Remember that." And he buries his thumbs into Marco's eyes, gorging them out, telling him, "Now, you can never see them again." As the guards come to take Marco away, Moon Knight turns and begins attacking them, but ultimately loses. Later in Solitaire, 8-Ball comes by, mopping up, asking, "So you wanted to get pinched?" Moon Knight tells him that this place couldn't keep Captain America and he's just one man. It's a matter of time when everyone decides to leave. "But would the others come and get you out? Thought they didn't like you." Moon Knight tells him, "They don't. But they don't have to. If they're going up against Wilson Fisk when they get back to the city, that's the kind of fight they're gonna need this wild dog for." Following the reading order of Devil's Reign, the next two storylines are Villains for Hire, which is a Thunderbolt storyline, issues 1 and 2. Let's go into those. It was a night of glamour and cameras as people gather for the Met Gala, a place where the rich could flaunt their wealth with extravagant dresses and clothing. And when all that power is held under one roof, it's bound to catch the attention of those who may not agree with their choices. Guns begin to fire into the air as a group of masked men calling themselves the Humanitarian Liberation Movement storms the building, taking everyone they could as hostages. They declare that people are starving, that the money they spend on just one costume could feed hundreds of families, but no, they'd rather throw all their money away pretending that they're... But that's when the activist begins to feel something wrap around his neck, and Whiplash pulls the man down, telling all of the partygoers that they're safe now. As the other Thunderbolts make their way through, Rhino tells everyone that Mayor Fisk wants to clean up these streets for the fine folk such as themselves, and Electro says that she is sorry to crash the party. Some of the activists on the roof begin to open fire, but Taskmaster pulls back on his bow, telling them to lay down their weapons. And as the gunman pulls the trigger, Taskmaster lets go of one of his arrows, hitting the man off the roof and into the crowd. Another man shouts, asking what's going on, and then Agony says that it's her turn to walk down the red carpet, and she wants to make it bleed. So get ready for her close-up. As Agony opens up her mouth, she hisses, spraying acid all over the man, melting his face and arms down to the bone. And once the Thunderbolts finish cleaning up the streets, they return to the precinct to wait their next orders, as the Thunderbolts now work for the city under Mayor Kingpin. They continue to wait around until they begin to argue about why are they waiting around. They should be free to walk around. They're heroes now. But it's Taskmaster that holds everyone still, firing an arrow to keep Whiplash from cracking her whip. That, of course, incites a brawl between the entire group, and as that brawl erupts in the police station between the Thunderbolts, finally Fisk walks in shouting, "That is enough! What an absolute mess! You are meant to clean up the city, not drive it even further into the ground." As everyone settles down, Fisk goes on stating that he is entrusting them with his city. He wants them to unearth the vermin responsible for the terrorist attack on the gala. And when they do, there will be no cameras or press. "I want you to make them suffer, slowly. Don't mess this up." Later, at the Humanitarian Liberation Movement's base of operations, they gather to plan their next attack when suddenly Rhino comes bursting into the abandoned warehouse. Whiplash grabs a hold of one of the men, ripping his head off, and Rhino tells her, "Oh, geez, you didn't have to go that far." Electro begins to electrocute another man until his flesh melts away, while Agony does the same to another with her acid. And the next day, the press pulls out an article about how Fisk thwarted the terrorists. But as he shows his thunderbolts, his office door is kicked in. Fisk looks up asking, "And who the hell are you?" "John Walker, U.S. agent. Reporting for duty, sir. Go ahead and sign me up." Fisk puts his hands together, leaning forward. "Everyone step out." Once the doors are closed, Fisk stands up. "I didn't order any red meat. Which butcher sent you? The feds, the DA, who?" "I came on my own. Someone needs to keep the Thunderbolts under control. They just murdered all of your problems. I'm here to fix your management issue." "And why should I let you into my Thunderbolts?" "Because I didn't vote for you. With the Thunderbolts in play, there's a hardline stance against superheroes. We can both do the math. Sooner or later, they're bound to start playing by their own rules. I'm here to keep a leash on the bad guys, make sure they play nice with the police. I get things done. I don't walk the line. I don't cross the line. I am the line." Fisk stares for a moment and then, after some consideration, tells him, "Congratulations, you're hired." The Thunderbolts are dispatched to take care of a robbery in progress at a local jewelry store. Needless to say, the crooks are mostly intact. A few broken bones and a face full of glass, but nothing too bad. At least by Thunderbolt standards. But as they take their leave, Taskmaster tells everyone that there's no need to thank them. But it's Elektra who decided that she wanted to earn a little bonus in the form of a nice-sized diamond ring. But before she could even get down to the street, the U.S. agent throws his shield into her back. "Put it back." Taskmaster turns to him. "Who the hell do you think you are?" "I'm the guy who's in charge. You're just a low-rent cap in America." And just as he finishes his sentence, U.S. agent runs up, jumping over Rhino, bashing Taskmaster with his shield. "Somebody needs to babysit the thugs." The rest of the Thunderbolts try to throw their punches, but U.S. agent stops each and every one of them, knocking them all down. "From now on, we're the law. Anyone who thinks they're above the law is gonna find themselves under my boot. Consider this your first and final warning. Tomorrow, you're a team. My team." Once the streets are clear, everyone heads back, with U.S. agent taking his time, walking alone, and then ducking into a dark alley, telling himself that this is pointless. There isn't enough evidence to shut Fisk down, barely enough for a slap on the wrist. If the FBI wants any of this purple children mess to stick to Fisk, they're gonna need more. A lot more. U.S. agent lifts his shirt, taking off the now fried wiretap thanks to Elektra's attempt, and tosses it in the garbage, stating that Fisk's got a big campaign event tomorrow. Let's see what his posse does. Tomorrow comes and Fisk's rally gathers around. But while everyone is chanting for Fisk, Fisk welcomes everyone, thanking them for their support, stating that they have strength in numbers, but by the size of this crowd, they're pretty strong. But as he's giving his speech, there's someone in the crowd touching people. Before anyone realizes it, their eyes all turn black and their faces go blank, and they just stand there. The chants start to fade as more people are turned, and U.S. agent takes notice, whispering to the others that they're starting to form around the mayor. Soon, the enthralled citizens begin to climb up onto the stage, and U.S. agent quickly throws himself to the crowd and quickly begins to question why he's even here. But before the masses could overpower him, Rhino jumps down, throwing the people off, asking, "You need a hand?" And U.S. agent climbs up, telling him, "I was fine. We need to corral these rioters before they start going after the cops. Just try not to throw anyone else. These people don't seem to be in control of themselves." Back in the fight, Elektra jumps down, charging herself, stating that it's been a while since she dove off stage. "Who's up for a little crowd surfing?" U.S. agent tells her to wait, these people are infected and corrupted. But in the middle of the silent group, a woman with purple skin stands there. And U.S. agent asks, "Who is that?" She says that someone with a lot of conviction. After the woman touches Elektra, she goes limp for a moment and then begins to supercharge herself. As she's about to explode, Rhino charges into Elektra, trying to divert some of the blast, but there is still more than enough to knock everyone in close range off of their feet. U.S. agent gets up asking what just happened, and Taskmaster looks around. It was non-lethal. Everyone's fine. But Agony is the one who tells them, everyone except Electro. In Seneca Park, a giant tree was planted by the X-Men to serve as a direct passage between New York and Krakoa, the island that the X-Men now inhabit. In the event, that the X-Men are ever needed to watch over New York. But right now, Fisk's Thunderbolts are gathering around the X-Men's treehouse gate to sever that connection. Because of the outlaw and vigilantism, a gateway between New York and Krakoa must be closed to keep the great city safe by removing a dangerous tree from Midtown Manhattan. U.S. agent steps forward, calling out that whoever is listening beyond the gate, your time is up, and he throws his shield when it suddenly stops mid-flight. I hate these freaks. He then yells to Polaris that she is withholding United States property. She sits up in the tree asking, really? I thought we were playing Frisbee. The kids play it down in the yard all the time. U.S. agent radios back stating that as expected, the X-Men are non-compliant, requesting the Thunderbolts at this stupid treehouse. Jean Grey and the other X-Men come out of the gate as Polaris jumps down, telling them, how about we start over? And the U.S. agent asks, where's my shield? Polaris thinks for a moment, telling him that she threw it back to him, but she may have overshot Manhattan. Suddenly, she's electrocuted as the rest of the Thunderbolts appear, with Rogue asking Rhino, what are you doing? Remy would be disappointed in you. Rhino tells her, ain't nothing personal, sugar, just business. Polaris gets back to her feet, getting ready to charge in when Jean stops her, telling her that this is what Fisk wants, to have the cameras rolling while they appear to be the aggressors. Then the U.S. agent walks up to Jean with a paper stating that this, whatever this is, it's an illegal structure and is being seized by the city of New York. Soon the department will be down here with their tree chippers and dump trucks. But as U.S. agent smiles, thinking that he has one over on them, Emma Frost holds out another paper stating that the treehouse is now recognized by the United Nations as a consult of a sovereign nation, the nation of Krakoa. The X-Men are posted here with a goodwill mission for the betterment of all mankind, and indeed all life on the planet Earth. She would certainly love to throw him out of Seneca Gardens, but it remains an open green space for all New Yorkers, even ones named the U.S. agent. U.S. agent reports back to Fisk, and Fisk tells him to continue their rounds and leave the X-Men to him. Jean thanks Emma for her help, and Emma laughs, stating that getting one over on Fisk is one of her old hobbies. And Jean tells her to be careful. She can feel Fisk's rage even across the town. Later, Fisk's aide, Wesley, walks into the office stating that he has the dossier on Emma Frost. Fisk takes the folder, flipping through the pages. Summon my chief of detectives. Let him know that some interesting information has come to light in the cold case murder of a young woman here in New York City. We'll make sure that justice is done, even if that justice were to implicate a rich and powerful woman of privilege. In the coming days, the news reports come out of the accusations against Emma Frost, the X-Men, and how she is connected to an unsolved murder that happened in New York City long ago. Emma sits in the office with her lawyers asking how it's looking, and one says that the legal term for this story is not good. Emma says that she's been guilty of many things, but she's never been an abuser of children. She did what any woman in New York would have done at that time. She helped the young girl out. In fact, she was not the first young woman that she assisted. The lawyer tells her, great, is there anything else that they could be hit with? She bites her lips for one moment. Well, hopefully not. I have had an interesting life. In fact, some of those days were a blur. There was a time when she remembered being a part of some unusual loan activity. She may have posed as Sue Richards and withdrew a $200 million loan. She was also ordered to pluck some ideas out of very intelligent people like Tony Stark. She also persuaded Jen Walters into forgetting a crucial document in a legal case. But really, let's not go opening doors with skeletons in them. Let's wait and see which doors fling open and which skeletons stumble out. She'll produce the women that they are insisting that she killed. And then let's sue the paper into oblivion, shall we? But there's a little bit more to this story, as it takes place many years ago in the Hellfire Club. This was a time both Emma and Elektra were under Kingpin's employ, and Elektra made a mistake. She was seen while working. Emma blew it off, stating that it sounds like a terrible time for poor, but Elektra told her that it was a child. The child needs to forget tonight before she can talk. So Emma grabs her coat, stating that who would have thought that she'd be trudging off to do charity work for children. Since the murder was already being investigated and a little girl taken away, Elektra picks the lock to the hotel room where she's being kept. By this time, word has already gotten to Fisk about the investigation, making sure that there are no connections to anything, and he orders that all of the witnesses be killed. But before the two could wake the child, Elektra hears footsteps and prepares to fight. But she also senses someone else nearby that could give them help. Outside, Spider-Man was swinging through the city eating when he suddenly heard a loud scream inside of his head. As Fisk's men stormed the building, Spider-Man jumped through a window, asking which one of them screams like a hot blonde. And why does he know that they were blonde? Some of the men point their guns at Spider-Man while the others kick down the door to the little girl's room, but the moment that they enter, Elektra slices into their throats. Emma wakes the girl up, stating, "Okay, Isabel, such a pretty name for a pretty girl. You need help. Can I help you and your friend out?" Isabel looks over, seeing Elektra fighting, stating, "It's her." And Emma tells her not to worry. Think of her as a good witch, the sort that wiggles her nose and fun things happen. Ignore the bad witch and the naughty men. Elektra shouts for them to leave, with Emma walking off with Isabel, stating that the bad witch is bossy, huh? She's afraid that there are some bad things happening right now, and we need to leave. Isabel asks why is she helping her, and Emma says, "Because I'm the good witch. That's what I do. I help, and I'm friends with Spider-Man, see?" Spider-Man jumps down, asking, "Wait, are you the woman who screamed in my head? Are you making me help you kidnap a child?" Isabel asks, "Are you kidnapping me?" Emma stops both of them. "Why would I do such a thing? We're friends. But if you want to go with the bad witch..." Isabel looks back over at Elektra, killing more men, and Isabel says, "Nah, that's okay. Let's get out of here." But down below, as Emma is helping Isabel into a car, off in the distance is Wesley taking photos. The photos that are now falling in the hands of Fisk. Photos proving that Emma kidnapped a child, that Emma removed her from the town, and that Fisk wasn't able to kill her. Back in the current time, Emma returns to England, where she left Isabel when she is suddenly sucker punched to the ground. She looks up to see Union Jack. "I hate hitting a bird, so don't make this harder than it has to be. And don't try to get cute with me. I've got side blockers." Emma says that he'll be hearing from her attorneys and a plastic surgeon soon, but Union Jack throws a tear gas grenade, telling her that he knows about that diamond skin. She coughs as Union Jack picks her up, telling her that she's under arrest and will be extradited back to New York to face charges of child endangerment, kidnapping, and who knows what else. He then whispers, asking, "You didn't, kill the child, did you?" Without giving any answers, Jack walks Emma over to the police van to be taken away, where an officer is waiting with an inhibitor collar. Emma looks at the man, telling him, "That's interesting." And then the officer begins to put the collar on himself. Jack yells out, "You fool! Why aren't you wearing side dampeners? She's a telepath!" She laughs, stating that she is just trying to make all sorts of new friends, like these two. As suddenly, two police dogs turn and begin to growl at Union Jack. Jack says, "Come on, lads." And while Jack is busy with the dogs, Emma orders the other two officers to go ahead and take her away and carry her. As she's lifted up into the air, she falls backwards, grabbing the pins to the tear gas, telling them, "Actually, there's been a change in plans. Go run around and gash your friends wearing side dampeners and mace each other. That should be fun." As everyone starts hitting each other with non-lethal weapons, one officer uncuffs Emma, telling her to enjoy her freedom. Once everyone is away, Emma sneaks around the back of the Hellfire Club in London, where she uses a secret entrance when people who want to party but don't want to be seen go. She quietly enters looking for Catherine. But since Catherine isn't there, she tells the person that is currently there that she's quite impressed and needs her help. A much older Isabel says that she can see that. It's funny. The good witch only shows up when she needs something. And judging by what's been on the telly, your life's a wreck. Emma sits, telling her that she appreciates the directness, but it would be helpful for her to return to New York. Afterwards, they can get her set up wherever she wishes. Isabel asks, "Even Krakoa?" Emma tells her there can be accommodations made. Isabel then asks why didn't she just mind wipe her? And Emma tells her that that is still a possibility, but the truth is she wanted to give a defenseless woman a chance. Isabel points to her head, telling her, "Take a look, I'm not so defenseless." Emma does just that and sees that after Isabel was taken out of the States, Elektra came to visit. Not to harm her, but to say that she is sorry and had to see what she saw. After that, Elektra trained her, taught her how not to be afraid. It was the best summer of Isabel's life, and like many others, she disappeared eventually. Emma says that she didn't know Elektra visited, but in any case, put those fighting skills to use on the men who are about to come in. Before Isabel can even ask what she's talking about, Union Jack jumps through the window. "Where's Emma?" Jack manages to knock Isabel down, telling her to stay there. "You can't beat me." Isabel tells him maybe, but will he be able to catch her while his mate bleeds out? She pulls out a small dagger, swiping at one of the officer's legs. As the man falls, Isabel runs, with Jack yelling, I'll never forget a face. Be seeing you soon. After getting what she needed, Emma opens up the portal to Krakoa and both her and Isabel tumble out. Emma jumps up telling her, "Welcome to Krakoa!" And Isabel tells her actually she changed her mind. She can't live here. She's a city rat at heart. After a nice spa day, Emma gets to work with Ben Urwich putting a story out about how Fisk's claim was nothing more than a smear campaign against her and the mutants. In fact, the girl in question is quite alive and well. That seemed to be the end of things, until one night in bed, Fisk's wife, Mary, jumps on top of him with a knife. He asks what is the meaning of this, but after a few moments he realizes that it isn't Mary. "Low to use my wife like this, Emma. You must be close by to have dominated Typhoid Mary's mind so easily." Across the room, Emma tells him closer than he thinks. One day, perhaps not long from now, she's going to ask him a question. Of course, she'll know if he's lying, so he might want to answer it honestly. Assuming he lives this circus act that he's made himself here in New York, she will return and ask him if crossing her was worth it. She could be anyone around him at any moment's notice. He won't see her coming until she wants him to. Even if he manages to wiggle free from this reign of terror that he's created, he still has her killing him to look forward to. Mary will awaken in a moment and have no memory of this, and she will see herself out. There was a quiet crunch of snow as the Winter Soldier quietly makes his way to the secluded mansion of New York's mayor. It's been 3 weeks since Bucky Barnes has had any form of rest, even though there's no one left to fight, no mission to run. But he can't stop. He takes a few guards out easily, security systems scrambled, and it's time to get what he came for and leave. But 3 weeks of no sleep can make your mind wander. It can make you see things, like the trail of blood left behind by all the people that Bucky only met once. Then for a moment, there's Ventolin's smile, and just as quickly as she appears, she fades and he falls. He falls and falls and falls, but he never sleeps. Soon Bucky puts himself together, promising himself that tonight will bring him his peace. According to some of the higher-ups in the intelligence supervillain circles, Fisk has files. Files on the heroes, their friends, their secret identities, secret missions, secret histories. And Bucky's is inside of the damn mansion. For someone who has had their official record annihilated, this could be his last chance to know the truth about his history, about everything. Even if it's likely going to be stained with even more blood. As soon as Bucky steps into Gracie Mansion, the alarms go off in his head. This is the mayor's home, and there is no one here. However, there are people. They're just dead. Bodies scattered throughout the home, and Bucky tells himself not to let the fear sink in. He just has to move. Down below in the basement are the files, secured of course, but you can't set off an alarm with a metallic arm. Bucky opens up the lockbox, and there are files, including his. But then he hears it. Not the alarm, but him. He spins back with his gun as Fisk himself is looming over him, and Bucky takes his finger off the trigger, telling him, "Look, we know each other, both on opposite sides of the line, but I can pay. This file is more important to me than your happy ending. I want to sleep." But Fisk doesn't respond, and Bucky realizes that his eyes are shut. Is Fisk sleepwalking? Probably has no idea what's even going on, but his fists, they are covered in blood. Did Fisk himself kill all of his own guards? Is that why things were quiet? Suddenly, Fisk shouts, "I don't need to know!" And he punches Bucky Barnes square in the face with a massive hand. It takes a moment for Bucky to get his bearings after being launched through a wall, but as panic tries to set in, he forces himself to remember his training, focus, evade, acquire, and move. Fisk continues shouting that he can't see, like something is forcing his eyes to be closed. Suddenly, Bucky feels the giant palm wrap around his head and slam him into the ground. And as Bucky tries to fight back, he yells to Fisk to wake up. But it's useless. Fisk just grabs his arm and crushes it. He smiles, rambling about the secrets of the devil, throwing Bucky aside again. Bucky scrambles to his feet, trying to get away, but the lack of sleep really begins to set in, the world around him twisting and turning, and if he stops even for a moment, the nightmare will be over. And then, he can sleep. No, he can't. He has to run. He has to move. But before long, his tired legs land him in a dark, quiet alleyway, and finally he stops, sitting, opening the file. and it has everything. Everything about Bucky Barnes and the Winter Soldier, but Fisk didn't compile this. He couldn't have. He took it from someone more powerful, someone who has never identified themselves. There are files on his mother and his father, his report cards. They know that he failed chemistry. They know about his kills in the Winter Soldier program, and they speak about him like he's still working, like he's still a part of their game. Bucky takes a deep breath, closing the folder, and for the first time in years, he has a clear head. He has a purpose, a hunt. Whoever wrote this file won't survive the year. And as for closure, he can sleep when they're dead. Next, we move to Devil's Reign 3. With Wilson Fisk's new mandate across New York, the superheroes have been taken into police custody in an effort to curb the growing supervillain problem that the city is now facing. In Fisk's eyes, or at least what he can tell people, if they remove the source of the supervillains, which are the superheroes, they will finally live a peaceful life. However, the heroes know that there is more to Fisk's plan than what he is showing on the surface. And while Ben Reilly, Spider-Man, is currently sitting in the police interrogation room, beaten and bloodied, the detective says that he will ask one more time. "What is your name?" Ben tells him, "Johnny Spider-Man." And the detective slams his head against the desk again. But at that moment, the other detective gets a call and she asks, "What is it?" They're in the middle of, wait, who? Outside of the room, Thing and Johnny Storm are standing there with Thing stating that he knows that a lot of them don't agree with the garbage that the mayor is handing down. He also knows that they still have jobs to do. But him and Matchstick are gonna do what's right and get their friend. A guy who saved your lives over and over, we're getting him out of here. Johnny walks through the door and it burns away. Yeah, sorry about that. Can't really turn the fire off these days. Thing just walks through the door telling them, "Sorry about the wall. We're here for a slightly annoying superhero." The three head outside and Ben Reilly says, "So where to now?" "Please say the hospital." Thing tells them that it's not like they can just go to the hospital, seeing as now they're all criminals. And Johnny then says, "Well, almost all of us." While most of the heroes remain in hiding, Luke Cage is actually front and center as he leads his campaign to become New York City's new mayor. The superheroes have decided that the only way to remove Mayor Fisk from power and revert this would be to beat him in an election. But even with their efforts, Fisk still has his own plans to ensure his re-election. While using the captured Kilgrave's powers for his own gain, Kilgrave himself begins to ask, what is the grand plan? "You're going to use my powers to brainwash voters? Seems like a small move." He stands up in the Prism prison, stating, "No, it's more than that. It's about my Achilles heel. This is about Daredevil. I've got him riled up. Daredevil is a tick who's burrowed in. But there's something more, something else. He's done something. Was this your doing?" Kilgrave laughs. "No. But it's my power. It's familiar, but diluted. Daredevil used my children to wipe everyone's minds out about his identity." Fisk then calls Otto, telling him that Kilgrave's children, theoretically, if he were to gather them, could amplify the power of the Psycho Prism. Otto tells him, "Yes, but I'm not about to leave my work to round up some children. Our deal has concluded. I am willing to update the Psycho Prison once I have my subject." Otto hangs up, and over on his side of the city, a lot of weird stuff's happening involving an Otto Octavius Ghost Rider, an Otto Octavius Wolverine, and various others. But that's a completely different story, which is barely related to this. So we're gonna move underground, with the remaining Avengers trying to formulate a plan when Luke Cage says that he just got the readings from the first poll. They aren't looking good. Are people too scared to not vote for Fisk? She-Hulk says, well, Fisk does have some good points. The act is zero tolerance. It'll push villains into hiding and remove them as targets. Daredevil asks, "Are you serious? What are you saying?" She-Hulk says that she doesn't know. Doesn't it make sense? And Daredevil tells him, "No! We can't let him do that." Jessica stops them both. "Wait, this is the Purple Man. It's subtle, but I can feel it. Fisk is using his power somehow, influencing everyone." Daredevil turns to her. "This isn't a matter of legality or democracy anymore. He's violating the entire city. We need to take him down by any means necessary." And Captain America tells him, "We have to be certain. If we're wrong, we're breaking the law." Daredevil stops him. "I know Fisk. He's doing this. We can head out tonight to remove him from office with or without your help." As night comes, the heroes move into position around City Hall, and Cap says that after they get Fisk, what next? She-Hulk says that they can hold him until they get evidence of the Purple Man's involvement. Daredevil says that if that doesn't work, then they dump him on a deserted island where he can't do any harm. And Miles Morales yells, "No, we're not just disappearing the mayor, even if he is." But before Daredevil could argue with him, everyone hears a sudden rumble as a giant, six-armed Hulk bursts through the building that they were standing on. Cap grabs a hold of Daredevil's arm, telling him, "Well, that's new." And Daredevil yells that there's more coming. Suddenly, there's a slash at Captain America's shield as the Otto Octavius version of Wolverine retracts his mechanical arm, telling him, "Ah, excellent, Captain America. I've killed one of you before." Then there's an Otto Octavius Ghost Rider. All of these individuals, Otto Octavius, Doc Ock from another universe. A Hulk, a Wolverine, and a Ghost Rider. This Otto Ghost Rider walks through looking up, telling them, "We have ourselves a true sinner, one more than anyone knows." And Ghost Rider lunges at Iron Man, who frantically blasts, yelling, "Stay away! I did what you asked!" While Iron Man is knocked out of the air, Otto Hulk grabs She-Hulk and a familiar voice asks, "Are you planning a midnight visit to our esteemed mayor?" And that's when Doc Ock climbs down and reveals himself. "Great minds, I suppose. I wasn't expecting company, but I'm sure that at the very least it's garnered Fisk's attention." Wilson Fisk is actually watching the fight from his window, and Miles Morales leaps in trying to web the metal arm, asking if he's taking orders from Fisk. Otto Octavius says on the contrary, he was going to steal the mayor's seat out from underneath him with the help of some other superior Dr. Octopuses. But he had to dismiss his proxy candidate in favor of Harlem's hero, Luke Cage. Everyone turns to look at Iron Man's broken mask to see that inside of it isn't Tony Stark, but actually Chameleon pretending to be Tony Stark. Otto then goes on stating that instead of running the city, he'll settle for saving it. His drones swarm in by the hundreds, with Cap yelling that they need to fall back, but Daredevil yells, "No! We can't let Fisk get away!" Miles begins to pull Daredevil back, telling him that they are dying out there, they need to regroup and live to fight another day. But also at this time, at the office of Franklin Nelson, Foggy opens up his door, stating that he should have probably gone home to sleep. But that's when two men in black suits tell him that that would have been the smart move. He begins to ask who the hell are they, and then one knocks him down, telling him that he and his lady lawyer are real loud, and their boss doesn't like that, and thinks that they would be better off never talking again. And now we're gonna go check in on Spider-Man before we jump 2 weeks into the future for Devil's Reign 4. So what happened with Thing, Human Torch, and Spider-Man after he was broken out of prison? The heroes in New York found themselves at the mercy of Wilson Fisk as he put a stranglehold on the city by outlawing superhero activities. Caught in the middle of this was Ben Reilly, who at this time was acting as Spider-Man since Peter Parker was in the hospital. He was picked up by the police in a raid, but was released with the help of Fantastic Four's Thing and Johnny. The issue was, instead of going to the hospital, he basically had to get dropped off on the side of the street because he was currently outlawed and now broke out of prison. And the Thunderbolts were there to pick him back up. The group of villains that the Kingpin hired to basically be the police force of his new New York. They quickly shoot a power dampener back around his neck, preventing his powers from kicking in, and they load him into the back of a police van to be taken away a second time. Meanwhile, elsewhere, the Beyond Corporation sends out Marcus to look for Ben Reilly when Marcus runs into a problem with Ben's GPS. It showed him located in some back alley, but when he got there, no one was there. Marcus checks back in with Maxine to make sure that he has the right place, but before he could even confirm it, a mysterious figure reaches out of the shadows, capturing Marcus. To keep you up to date, Marcus is the handler of Ben Reilly in the Spider-Man series. Back over with Ben Reilly, he's sitting in the van as two Thunderbolt members taunt him, and Ben begins to notice something strange about what else is in this van. Roses. As the guard riding with him taps on a large energy gun, he begins to state that it's not so funny being a fugitive, huh? Now he knows what they felt like before they were the law. Ben pauses for a moment. "What did you say?" And he stands up, kicking the man out of the van. Ben ends up falling with him, still handcuffed, but as the van turns back around to get him, the energy gun begins to charge. A few seconds later, a beam is fired, nearly punching a person-sized hole through the van, and Ben asks, "What kind of firepower is that for a thug to be carried around?" A short while later, Fisk's son, Rose, tends to his roses when the two Thunderbolts from before come in to report that Spider-Man got away. Rose wants to know how they managed that, and Rose takes out a gun firing, telling the two of them to get out of here before he decides to actually aim at them next time. No matter, Rose is hoping to avoid getting his hands dirty. These gloves are Mongolian cashmere, so it looks like they're gonna go with plan B. Rose steps into the next room, taking out a knife and bringing it closer to Marcus's neck. Later, once Ben Reilly is patched up, Maxine brings him in, telling him that the gun that he found was old SHIELD tech back from when they were taking measures to stop the Hulk should they find themselves needing to. Ben says that he watched it in action. Thing hits like a wrecking ball. And Maxine tells him that someone at the Pentagon was in charge of safekeeping these munitions, but they discovered that Wilson's son has gotten a hold of the cache. Ben asks, "What, the Rose? What does he want with them?" And Misty and Colleen tell him that that's what they're going to find out. Ben's job is to locate Marcus. That is when the realization hits Ben Reilly. They got Marcus? Back with Marcus, the Rose sits before him, telling him that it would be easier for him to say who Spider-Man really is. And Marcus tells him that as a representative of Beyond, it is illegal to provide any employee's credentials or identification without an authorizing government document. Rose groans, asking, "Why do you have to make this difficult? I'll find a use for you one way or another." But as Rose puts on his jacket and leaves, he hears a statement from the police on the TV. They say that they're still on the lookout for Spider-Man, and if anybody has any information on his whereabouts, please call immediately. Rose thinks for a moment, grabbing his phone and dialing, and as the person on the other end answers, he says, "Yeah, hello? I'd like to provide an anonymous tip as to where Spider-Man is hiding." Later, as Ben goes out looking for clues, Maxine calls him asking if he's currently being arrested, and Ben says no. She says then if that's the case, he might want to head to East Village. A Spider-Man is being brought in. Ben rushes over to find a rather hefty man in a Spider-Man suit that is currently being detained by the Thunderbolts and hurries in to save him. He webs up some of the guards and then tosses them into each other's, telling them, "I don't want to hurt you, but you're definitely going to be sore in the morning." After a bit more banter, Ben piles the men up and then takes off the mask to find that the Spider-Man is actually Marcus. And once the tape is removed from his mouth, Marcus yells that it's a setup. They need to, but that's the only delay that they needed as a blast shoots from the police van, nearly frying the both of them. Rose steps out, telling them, "At last we meet again! Unfortunately for you, it will be our final rendezvous." Ben tells them that technically they've never met before formally, but continue. Rose then pushes a button, shocking Marcus's suit, which in turn shocks Ben for touching him. The amazing Spider-Man is always here to save the day, never yielding to rescue those that he loves. As Rose lifts Ben up by the neck, he asks, "Why do you want me dead exactly?" Rose tells him that it's nothing personal. He just needs to die in order for his father's plan to blossom to its full maturity. Once all the heroes are either dead or locked up, there will be no more obstacles. That's when he will make his move to overthrow his father and take his position as the true Kingpin. Ben glances over and then back at him. I hate to break it to you, but you have a long way to go before you can fill into Kingpin's shoes." As Rose looks back, Marcus hits him with one of the Thunderbolt's shock batons, punching him out, telling him, "That's for putting me into an extra small costume." And with that, Rose is defeated. Later, back at the Beyond Corporation, Ben Reilly is getting fixed up with Marcus coming by, telling him thanks for the rescue. He must have already been hurting from his fight before. Ben tells him that it's nothing. It's just something that comes with the job of being a friend. Marcus then asks, how does Ben think that Fisk is taking the news? And Ben asks, do you mean that the Kingpin almost had Spider-Man in his clutches? Probably about to lay off the entire PD. Marcus then asks, why does he think that? And Ben tells him that it's just a hunch. Back over at the police station, Spider-Man is being thrown out of the van in front of the police captain. The captain looks at him, telling him that he's going to make him rich. They finally got their hands on Spider-Man, but as he pulls the mask off, he discovers that it's just Rose with duct tape over his mouth. And that's how Spider-Man finally got free. Alright, now it's time to cut back to Devil's Reign 4 to continue the main plot line. And we go 2 weeks after the confrontation at City Hall, where our heroes battled against Doc Ock and Fisk watched the whole time. the heroes have quietly retreated underground to try and recover from their encounter with Doc Ock and his multiversal versions. Since then, Fisk's hold over the city has only grown tighter, as Fisk has started to deploy drones by the thousands to watch over and root out superhero activity. As Matt Murdock walks through the city, he looks up watching the drones pass by, stating that maybe we went too far. We've forgotten that our actions have ramifications on the people that we're trying to save. We turn our nose up at the laws to do it, and now they're all being punished for it. Thousands of eyes are watching us, hunting anyone who dares ignore Fisk's zero-tolerance policies. No superheroes, no supervillains. The heroes are now underground. The people are cowering. Drones everywhere. There's no freedom, no crime. The city of New York is afraid. But there's one thing that Fisk is forgetting. Matt Murdock is the man without fear. He goes to visit Foggy Nelson in the hospital after being attacked for daring to help the superheroes, specifically Luke Cage, who's running for mayor in the upcoming election. Matt takes off his mask, telling him that his body sounds fine. Breathing is normal again. And Foggy tells him that he's been here every day for the past 2 weeks. It's going to be okay, Matt. Matt tries to speak, telling him that it's not going to be okay. But Foggy tells him, shut up, just shut up. Do you really think that you're the only person here who has free will? That you are choosing to stand up against Fisk? That you put yourself in harm's way? I can be a hero too, damn it. At that moment, Matt hears something, quickly putting on his mask. He steps out, seeing someone walking down the hallway, asking what is he doing here? Matt's brother Mike stops, telling him, whoa, can't a guy, you know, the one that's pretending to be your brother, visit his brother's old friend? Matt pulls him aside, telling him not to do it, and Mike goes on telling him, look, I was hoping I was gonna run into you here. It's Butch, Kingpin's son. He's been arrested. When he gets out, I'm a changed man, let me help. Matt yells at him, no, you're just a grifter. You always have been and always will be. This is serious. People's lives are in danger. All you ever did was look out for yourself. Mike throws the flowers that he brought to the ground, telling him, yeah, well, screw you, Matt. You don't know a thing about me. I'm just as sanctimonious as Matt. Kristen walks up, asking if everything's okay and how is Foggy. Matt turns, telling her that everything is spiraling out of control. His friends are getting hurt. The city is... How can he... She kisses him, telling him that she's sorry. But he's sounding like a wounded puppy. She needs him to know that it'll be okay. Matt tells her that blood is on his hands. The second death is waiting for him. And now he's worried, knowing that he may as well just kill Wilson Fisk at this point. Later at the police station, Butch's cell is open and an officer tells him that he's free to go. Butch grabs his coat, telling him that he's glad that they came to their senses, but the officer tells him, oh, no, you're guilty as hell, but we're overloaded thanks to the new anti-crime drones. Plus, you got some friends in high places. Butch looks up at Fisk as he walks past him, telling him to get lost. And Fisk tells him, it doesn't have to be this way. Yeah? Okay. How about we put this all out in the open then? I'm your son. And you may think that this is just a child mad at his dad for abandoning him. But the fact of the matter is, we don't know anything about each other, Dad. My mother knew what kind of man you were, and if I was a part of your life, life would be real short. I was ashamed to be called Kingpin after you. Fisk shouts at him, I can make you fall in the line. But Butch turns back, spitting in his face. I'd like to see you try. Elsewhere in the city, the champions are fighting against Rhino as Rhino yells that he isn't here to fight them. Just a minute! We're on the same side! Miles asks, oh yeah? Then what's with the badge on your chest? And hundreds of drones begin to surround them, with the Rhino slapping a badge on Miles and everyone yelling out, just listen! The drones can scan everyone, and then begin to fly away. And Nova stops. What just happened? Rhino sits back, telling them that the drones know not to attack anyone with a badge. It's like Wi-Fi or whatever. He said he wasn't here to fight. And Miles then asks, then why are you here? Rhino goes on telling him, you know me, I'm not a bad guy. This was just a good paying lawful gig with the mayor. He wanted me to go after some kids, not you, but other kids. Kids that haven't done anything wrong. And that ain't me. I just wanted to tell someone, one of you hero types. Miles hurries over to Cap and the others to let them know about Fisk's plans to capture Kilgrave's children, and Luke says that if he does that, they'll have a hold on everyone's minds. Jessica yells that she has had enough of this, men controlling them, making them hide like rats, and now they're going after children? As of this moment, the champions are drafted. They're gonna find those kids, and if Fisk and Otto or anyone gets in her way, she'll end them herself. Later that night, at his estate, Fisk sits by the fireplace, and Mary tells him that he really is sorry about what happened to Butch, but don't worry, Butch will come around soon. Fisk finishes his drink, telling her it's why can't I stop? Why do I hold on to these things that just bring me pain? All I have is you to bring me happiness. I think back to our fiery beginnings and how it gave way to something more powerful, more beautiful. Mary says that she feels the same way, even though she really can't remember their first time. Years of treatment and trauma have robbed her of so much. Fisk grabs her, telling her that he wishes that she could remember, but unknowingly, he commands her to. She steps back, suddenly remembering everything, and Fisk yells, I didn't mean to, the cane! But Mary smiles, telling him, no, don't be, I remember. What a gift, that power, it's remarkable, I had no idea that you could do that. Fisk looks at the cane. I didn't know either. He runs out of the room to the roof as the rain begins to pour, looking at the jewel on his cane, telling himself to remember. And there's a flash as Fisk slumps to the ground, looking back up, gritting his teeth. Daredevil is Matt Murdock. Now, as the cameras begin to come back on, US agent tells Rhino to get Elektra out of here before she goes nuclear. He quickly picks up the lifeless body of the woman and begins to run, with the US agent turning his attention back to the crowd, asking if anyone has eyes on the woman who did this, the purple-skinned woman. With no sign of her, Wilson Fisk is taken away, and US agent quickly gets to work helping the firefighters put out the fires. He begins to think about what is he actually doing. He'd bet his life on the law, and Wilson Fisk is corrupting the law from the inside. He's a cancer, and the feds want him to cut that cancer out. But now there's someone else, using civilians against Fisk. Conviction, she called herself. He can't let anyone else get hurt. Once the fires are out, the firefighters find a woman and ask if she's okay. Does she need help? And before anyone realizes who this woman is, Conviction stands up laughing, asking, so Fisk wants to play his own game? I can play my own game too. I'll show Fisk that I'm not just some toy. As Conviction begins to convert more people against Fisk, US agent tells Agony that they need to get to work and only incapacitate them. Make sure that no one else gets hurt. Agony jumps towards Conviction, stating, good, she'll make sure that this one hurts. And Conviction touches Agony, turning her against US agent. But as the influence begins to take hold, inside, Andy is forcing Agony to purge her body by stabbing herself with a loud scream. US agent charges in to help, but Conviction quickly spins around, touching him, and he falls to the ground. He tries to fight against this, but all he can feel inside of him is rage. She laughs, telling them both that she's sorry she has to run, but they look like they have their hands full. Bye for now. US agent struggles, standing back up, and Agony stands with him, telling him not to worry, big guy. I've got you. This is going to hurt. Never tried anything like this before. If my symbiote can filter the poison out of me, who's to say that it can't work for others? Andy's symbiote begins to detach from itself, and US agent sees Andy's face as she says hi. A symbiote crawls into every opening in US agent's body. But as she begins to push the toxin out, US agent screams, gasping for air. Andy pulls Agony back, telling him to take it easy and take it slow. He just had his first symbiote cleanse. Later, with US agent and Agony returning to City Hall, US agent says that this little run-in today caused a lot more harm to the people. This Conviction, she's putting people in danger. Fisk looks at him. Danger. You're the one that is supposed to be keeping the people of this city safe. Rhino quietly says that too many innocent people were hurt. And US agent says that even his own henchmen don't stand by him. This mess is on you, US agent. Fisk leans in. You still have a job to do. Find the purple children and bring them to me. Wesley will give you trackers to hone in on their energy signatures. Rhino says no. Children is his line. He's not crossing it. I'm out. US agent stands there and Fisk uses his cane's power to influence him, telling him, you will do as you're told. Now go. U.S. agent walks away, and Fisk sighs. It's a pity to lose Rhino, but there's more muscle where that came from. Everyone welcome Abomination to the Thunderbolts. Continuing to abuse Purple Man's powers, Fisk sends the Thunderbolts out to tighten his grip around the city's neck, hunting and looking for the Purple Children to enhance his already commanding hold on everyone, forcing everyone to vote for him in the upcoming election, to make outlawing vigilantism permanent. Eventually, the energy trackers find the source of the Purple Children, and U.S. agent gathers all available forces to converge on the target building. He heads inside, he knocks on the door, and one of the children opens it with U.S. agent telling him, "You're gonna have to come with me." The children's skin turns purple, and he tries to tell him not to move, but U.S. agent struggles through it. "Those fancy powers aren't gonna save you, but you know what would? Rubber boots." Electro places her hand on the wall and sends an electrical shock through and stuns everyone inside. Next, Abomination bursts in through the walls, and the rest of the Thunderbolts come in, knocking all of the children out. And as U.S. agent grabs a power-dampening collar, the young boy asks, "Don't you get it? Wilson Fisk is using my father." But U.S. agent is still under Fisk's influence, and he has the children taken out as he reports back that they have acquired the Purple Children. Bring them all in. Wilson Fisk has all of the Purple Children and the Purple Man. And then a voice tells him, "Congrats. Why don't you try doing it with these kids?" U.S. agent turns to Jessica Drew and sees all of the champions in, ready to fight to free the children. Now that the heroes are getting back the Purple Children and preventing Fisk, let's go back over to Devil's Reign issue number 5, because when we last left off there, Fisk used the power of the Purple Man, which resided in his cane, to bring back his own memories, including who is Daredevil. As the flood of memories come back to him, Fisk sits in his office, staring with a pure sense of rage. Daredevil dug into his mind and stole so much. The greatest violation that he has ever known. He stole his victories. He stole his memories. All that he could deny the world the fact that he was sloppy. That he was in fact Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock. Matt Murdock! But while Fisk is lost in his own mind, his aide comes over asking, "Sir, the Thunderbolts have located the Purple Children, but they're in a residential building. Shall I give the go-ahead?" Fisk tells him to do it. Casualties be damned. Across the city, U.S. agent is assisting in the apprehension of Kilgrave's children, but a voice tells him, "Congrats. Now try that with these kids, big man." He looks up at Jessica Drew, with the champions rallying behind her, and Kamala Khan tells the others to grab the kids and get them to safety. Jessica gets ready to fight the U.S. agent, stating that Fisk is going to use those kids to control the city. And the U.S. agent tells her that these kids are a danger to themselves and others, while this guy's dangerous just to you. Jessica looks up, telling him, "Oh crap," and the Abomination lands before her, sinking his feet into the ground as he crashes into it. "Greetings, lawbreakers." And Jessica looks at him. "Aren't you above all of this?" But in the confusion, one of the soldiers slaps a power dampener on her neck, and Abomination smiles as he lifts his massive fist into the air. As he punches down, Miles Morales swings in, grabbing her. "Hey, we gotta go!" And she yells that they can't leave yet. Miles continues on his path, telling her that they'll save the rest of the kids, but they can't do it if they're all dead. So later, back in Fisk's lab, Doc Ock tells him that it is done. The children that they have gotten have been drained of their power. That should be enough to control the voters and win his worthless election. Purple Man is supercharged, and I've outfitted him with a control collar so he doesn't get out of hand. And even then, there's no way to get back his neural blockers, in case he wanted to try something funny. Fisk holds up his cane. That is why Spider-Man always defeats him. He is short-term. He can't think beyond himself or themselves. Escort the unwanted Otto Octavius out, please. As Fisk gives the command, Doc Ock asks, "What are you?" But that's when the Hulk variant of Otto Octavius says, of course, throwing himself and Doc Ock out the window. Next, Fisk lets Kilgrave out of his prison, telling him that he wants everyone to know what happens next is his fault for all of his crimes. Kill them. Burn the city to the ground if you must. Kill every hero that ever dared to try and stop me from achieving my true potential. A few moments down on the street, two other multiversal versions of Doc Ock, a Johnny Blaze one and a Wolverine one, jump down asking what happened. And the Hulk version says he doesn't know. But Doc Ock says, "It was Fisk! He's lost it! But then suddenly, the Otto Octavius multiversal variants all turn and walk away, joining the crowd of mind-controlled Thunderbolts. US Agent tells Doc Ock to stand down. "You're not the target here." Across from them, both Captain America and Daredevil call out for the Avengers to assemble, all of them now equipped with neuro-blockers to protect themselves from the supercharged Purple Man. As the battle begins, Spider-Man begins to web up the other Otto Octavius variants, telling Doc Ock, "Sorry, but as usual, you're not really high on the list of priorities right now. Unless you know a certain Purple Man, because we would love to talk to that guy." But through the chaos, a man says, of course, as long as they don't mind it being a group conversation. As Kilgrave sits on the shoulders of the massive gathering of civilians, Captain America looks over, telling him, "We have a problem." And Luke Cage tells him, "Oh God, Kilgrave got everyone." Meanwhile, elsewhere, Mike Murdock, Daredevil's twin brother, returns to his apartment, telling everyone that he can fix this. He can help Butch out. He just needs to... Wait, why is my apartment trashed? Were they looking for the stone? Mike opens up a hidden compartment and lets out a sigh of relief as he realizes what he's talking about is still there. And he takes out the Norn stone as a shadow begins to loom over him. Suddenly, a giant hand grabs Mike Murdock by the face, and Fisk throws him across the room. "This is your fault!" Mike looks up. "Fisk? I don't know what's going on, but..." And Fisk charges in, grabbing him by the throat. "There will be no more games, Daredevil!" Bleeding from his head, Mike struggles to breathe. "I'm not Daredevil!" But Fisk shouts to stop pretending to be blind or pretending to be a hero. "All while you violated all of our minds. I should have done this a long time ago." Fisk holds Mike against the wall and, while pulling back a massive arm, punches Mike's head into it. Mike Murdock's body falls to the ground, and Fisk yells to the heavens, "Do you hear me? No more! No more!" But as Fisk continues to punch him over and over, covering himself in the blood, the door to Mike's apartment swings open, and Kirsten McDuffie stands there watching. But before we can conclude this storyline, we have to jump back over to Daredevil, Woman Without Fear, which was telling a three-part storyline as to what was going on with Elektra, and supposedly contains big spoilers for issue 6. It needs to be read first. When we last left off with her, Fisk had sent Kraven the Hunter after her, deputizing him and making him one of the members of the Thunderbolts, and he was leaping into battle against her. She's a ninja, and in front of a crowd, she should be in the shadows, but here she is dancing with Kraven in front of people, all to save a friend named Goldie. For a moment, they stare at each other, waiting for the next one to make the first move, and Elektra decides it'll be her, kicking high. As her and Kraven go back and forth, they each effortlessly evade each other's attacks until Kraven mixes it up, landing a punch on the side of Elektra's head. He takes out his knife, telling her, "You are a graceful foe, but lacking the power to withstand." But before he could finish the sentence, he's hit with a snowball, and Goldie shouts, "Leave her alone!" Elektra scoffs at herself, stating that she was just saved by a mild-mannered lawyer. Embarrassing. Almost as embarrassing as going at this in a full public display. She isn't Matt Murdock. She pretends to be the people's Daredevil, but that's not who she is. She is an assassin. She is Elektra. With that knowledge on her mind, she runs into the nearby school, Kraven following her, hunting her, following her scent. He stalks the halls until he finds himself in a dark room, calling out, "You cannot hide from me forever!" But Elektra isn't hiding. She's waiting, just like a ninja should. Through the darkness, she strikes, stabbing into an arm. Good. Frustrate him. make him sloppy. Kraven screams, telling her to show herself, but Elektra just taunts him. Stomp, stomp, yell pathetic. In that brief moment of hesitation, Kraven stops, looking around like any hunter would. But right now, he isn't the hunter. He is the hunted. Each hit from Elektra is concentrated, incalculated. A kick to the side, a punch to the stomach, knee to the chest, a palm strike to the face. But then the lights of the auditorium switch on, and at the very top is a shadow. Impressive. Sloppy, but impressive. Elektra squints, seeing through the light, and sees Akka. Good. She isn't seeing ghosts, just monsters. Akka laughs, telling her, "If you only knew, the hand secures us all, unlike the fist." Soon the bell begins to ring, letting the students know that there is an emergency, and Elektra quickly sneaks out. She tries to figure out how to get past the guards outside and sees a student grabbing something from her locker. She says, "Hey, that's a real nice jacket she's wearing." As the crowd of students pile out of the building, Elektra covers herself with a hood to get past the thunderbolts, and she spots Goldie. She reaches out when the coast is clear, and Goldie informs Elektra that his office called. It's Matt. Matt Murdock is dead. Elektra's eyes widen as she stares speechless. And Goldie goes on to explain that Matt was murdered in his apartment. They said that there was an eyewitness, and the main suspect is Mayor Fisk. With that, Elektra walks off, informing Goldie that she is going to kill the mayor. And now we go to the finale to Devil's Reign 6. It only took seconds for the confrontation between the heroes and Fisk's thunderbolts in the streets of New York City, but amidst that chaos, Daredevil gets a call from Kirsten McDuffie. He answers it, telling her that he's a little busy, and she shouts that he's dead. Fisk murdered him. It didn't take more than a moment for those words to sink in, and Daredevil realized what had happened. Fisk killed his brother, thinking that it was him. Mike is gone. This can't... No. He'll kill him. He'll kill Fisk for this! Daredevil begins to run from the fight, and Spider-Man asks, "Where is the Hornhead running to?" "Man without fear, my butt!" Elsewhere, over at Fisk's penthouse, he walks in still bloody from earlier, and Mary tells him that it's a good thing that he came home. Sounds like World War III up there, and they should probably lock it down. But as soon as Typhoid Mary sees the red on him, she begins to demand to know what happened. Fisk calmly tells her that it's not his blood, it's Daredevil's. It's over. The wolves are closing in. They have to go. We no longer need to fight. All we need is each other, and everything else is nothing. I was a fool. I don't need this. All I need is you. But once he packs his belongings and begins his drive, Elektra runs towards the speeding car, throwing herself on the window, stabbing her sides into Fisk's shoulder. The SUV crashes into another car as Fisk pulls himself out of the wreckage. Elektra says that she's going to kill him for what he's done. Do you hear me? You are going to. But a voice tells her no. When Fisk dies today, his face will be the last thing that he sees, and Daredevil walks forward with determination. Fisk's eyes going wide as he rips the sigh out. Why won't you die? Daredevil tells him, the only way I'm going into the ground is with my hands around your giant throat. He runs in swinging, hitting Fisk in the jaw. But Fisk reaches out, grabbing him by the throat. I was happy. I was content. And here I am now, ruining everything. Attacking my mind, my memories. I was happy. As the giant fist of Fisk comes down, it hits Daredevil with a thunderous toom, knocking Daredevil face first into the ground. But back across town, Kilgrave is continuing to get more and more people, mind-controlling them, throwing them against the heroes. But it's actually one of the purple children, Joseph, that stands up. He asks where are his brothers and sisters, and Kilgrave laughs. Those pathetic ones? They're dead. Dead, dead, dead. And now that I have their power, little Joseph, you can die too. But while the war of the purple families begin, back in front of Fisk's penthouse, Daredevil tries to pick himself up as the blood is pouring out of his face, trying to not lose consciousness. Fisk tells him they could put me in an electric chair for all I care. If it's for killing you, I will smile all the way to hell. But as Daredevil picks himself up, he tells Fisk, it's not too late. You can just step back. Once on his knees, he holds the cane that Fisk has been using to influence everyone, and Fisk steps back. No. Daredevil tells him, I want you to suffer. Suffer for all of your sins. I want you to think about all of the lives that you destroyed. Fisk's eyes glow purple, and he begins to relive all of the terrible things that he's done, all of the lives that he's ruined. And he looks back, done, without so much as a flinch. Daredevil realizes that he doesn't care. Even being forced to relive those lives, he doesn't care. You're evil. You have to die. Daredevil screams as he bashes and shatters the purple crystal across Fisk's face, severing the connection and hold that he had over everyone. But he doesn't stop there. Daredevil continues to punch Fisk over and over, covering the bindings on his hands with blood, turning them as red as the costume. He tells himself that he has to die. Fisk has to die because they kill monsters. Heroes slay Goliath. He reaches over to the side, wrapping his hand around it, lifting it into the air. But before he can thrust it into Fisk's head, Elektra tells him, "Wait, I won't stop you. God knows that I've killed men who deserved less. You're not an assassin. You're not a killer in the shadows, Matt. You're an idiot who decided to wear this and decided to be a symbol. People are watching. What kind of a symbol do you want to be? What kind of a man do you want to be?" Daredevil lowers his arm. I killed. And Elektra tells him, "I know." Back across town, the heated battle between Kilgrave and Joseph died down as Fisk's supercharged crystal was destroyed. With his seemingly unlimited power now restricted, Kilgrave couldn't even muster up the strength against Joseph, and he was taken down. Even with Kilgrave off the board, Joseph still lost. He lost his family. At least he thought, until he saw his brothers and his sisters. Later, a few Thunderbolts sit in a police van as they transport Fisk away. And one says that this is a pretty big deal. Arresting a sitting mayor? He leans forward asking if it's true. Did he try and control everyone in the city just to stay mayor? The other guard takes off his helmet. Who knows? And Butch smiles. That's just small thinking. As the van stops and Fisk is let out, he has walked into a large mansion owned by the Stormwinds. He looks about asking, "What is this?" And Quinn smiles, telling him that he got himself into a bit of trouble. "Luckily, your son came to me for help." Butch says that the Stormwinds approached him with a great deal. He can operate with total immunity in New York, and all he has to do is increase crime rates in the areas they want to buy up. Una sits with a poster telling the mayor that it may be done. But since they put him in the mayor's seat, he can only go up. What do you think about Fisk for president? Quinn tells him, of course. You'd be working for us now. We'll guide you through all the policy stuff, but if you agree to this, you can be a free man. What do you say? Shake on it? Fisk reaches out, shaking Quinn's hand, and then begins to crush it. He needs to show Butch what it means to be a Fisk. And Fisk bows to no man. Butch begins to help fight off security, asking, "What are you doing?" Fisk tells him, "I know what I'm doing. Deep down, you might call yourself Butch Ferris, but you are a Fisk. I can't change that I wasn't there for you. But I can be there for you now. Tell them all in whispers through the streets that you killed me. The mayor attacked the city, murdered Matt Murdock, and then you rose up. You took what was his, the crown." As Fisk leaves, Butch pauses for a moment and falls down, asking, "Matt Murdock? Oh, no. I should have listened to him, Mike. Oh my God." The days begin to pass, and as things slowly begin to return to normal, atop a building, Elektra asks if he's sure about this. And Daredevil tells her, yeah, he is. Matt Murdock is dead. The world thinks so, at least. He has nothing here now. It's a horrible road. Death, prison, but he's ready now. Ready to think prisoner. Ready to think bigger. No more street fights. No more Wilson Fisk. She wanted him to join her, to start the fist, to take down the hand. And he's ready. But he has ideas beyond that. Now let's go save the world. Thank you for watching today's episode of Full Story, where we take stuff from Comicstorian and combine it into a giant video so that you can enjoy it. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time right here.